version of Transformers reviews. And guys, there are a little bit of perks for watching this secondary channel, because whether you're watching this live or the fact that you are watching this on the replay that'll eventually be on YouTube, what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of have a chill look at two of the new Legacy figures. One of them, Dead End, I don't really have a lot to say about him, so I wouldn't really want to push out a review whenever, you know, we've already done that sort of thing. Armada Starscream, I probably could make one out of him, but I thought, well, why not? Let's just go ahead and look at both of them tonight. We'll kind of wind down Sunday evening and just kind of enjoy something with the robots. How about that? Now, one of the things that I do want to go ahead and mention before we jump into looking at Starscream is the fact that Armada Megatron, he's very emblematic of the Armada era, because this dude has lights, I mean, just electronics, sounds, and I mean, you can just tell he's just laden with all of this Armada era stuff for the Minicon compatibility. But every time you would turn the turret, it would be like, Megatron attack, Megatron attack, and I mean, it would just get really kind of annoying, to be honest. So what I thought about was, I was like, well, these are really kind of the key figures you would need to kind of show the new Legacy of Starscream, which, to be honest, one of the things that I love is how anime accurate it is to his original design. And man, it just looks slick. That's one thing that I enjoy, is that you can put the blast effects there, obviously in the Knoll laser cannons. But I think what they did was, I can't tell if this is actually meant to be where the actual jet would be for his vehicle mode. I think there was some animation that showed him using the laser cannons as the jets, but you know, I don't know for certain. But one of the things that I do dig is it just seems very accurate to the colors and just the sort of vibe that the old 2002 Starscream, it just could never get there, to be honest. Now, there are some slight changes, like the arms, as opposed to the original toy, they're a little bit more tucked in. But the one thing that I really like about this is that if you wanted to actually include his weapons for robot mode, they actually showed them plugging into the wings, which that's fine, but for me, anybody that has watched my videos, I don't really care about that sort of thing. So for me, I was like, well, we could just plug them on the underside, and really for the majority of the time you're looking at it in vehicle mode, it's for the most part hidden. Now, he can still use these in vehicle mode. So there you go. If you want to see them with the lasers flipped over like that, I think it is kind of interesting. I think the old toy could do that. I mean, it's been like almost 7 or 8 years since I messed with it, but I think you could do that. Plus, the one thing that everybody has kind of noticed about this figure is that, as opposed to the old one that required a Minicon of this style to plug in and activate it, they don't have even like a dead port there, which I think that if they ever release his Minicons, this is the one from the Skyboom Shield, but his was the red version, swindled. It was just like a tad bit smaller. If they ever release an updated Minicon, that's just maybe like one thing that they missed on. But other than that, the only other release we had of Armada Starscream was this version right here, of the Legacy version. And it was in this color scheme right here, but this is also the Super, we've actually looked at this one before on the other channel. It's the Super Starscream, or essentially just, you know, the Thundercracker repaint. And don't get me wrong, it's good for what it is, but the thing that I've always probably had a problem with for this version was that it was too small, because in robot mode, figures like the original Armada Demolisher and all the other ones, they towered over him. The only one he was in scale with was the Thrust from the Grand Galvatron set. And I was like, man, that just kind of always irked me. So the fact that we have a Voyager class Starscream that's probably what I feel is more appropriate to his size, I love that. But of course, when you compare him to Megatron, I think that the size, it's hard to see, I'm sorry guys. The size is a little bit more in scale with what it should be, just considering their mass and everything and how they scale in robot mode. But speaking of that, why don't we go ahead and we'll start with these guys here. Let's just get Megatron done, because he's one of the easier ones on the table. And so while we're transforming Megatron here, I gotta tell you guys, we just had that time change here where I live, and I absolutely hate it every year because it gets dark around 5 o'clock, and I'm like, man, there's still so much of the day left. Let's see. We will reorient the camera. Just give me a second there. There we go. There's him. Let's see here. This boy, we got to fold up his. I'm using a different setup than I normally do to go live. And I know this is the first time we've done this on this channel, so please forgive me. I always feel like lives are so messy, and I like to have my videos be a little bit more polished, a little bit more, clean cut. And with live stream, it's just like whatever happens, happens. So these collapse up in the legs. That comes down. There he is, sporting that fabulous red face of his. Let's see here. Okay, so you can fold the wings like that. Now that was the cool thing about him, is he had these clear swords. Pop out his hands. And the other thing is on the original Armada toy, you couldn't collapse the cannons back like this. They had to sit out like this the whole time, which it's cool that you can do either of those on this version. But we'll go ahead. Oh, man. The sword like to separate there. So go with this. And let's see here. Other one's still attached. There we go. Yeah, and so you can kind of see, even though you can't see Megatron's head just yet, you can tell that this is not a good scale between him and the original Megatron. And that was, again, like I said, that was kind of one of the things that irked me just a little bit. So put you back over there, and let's get to the star of our show. And look at that. I do have a Star Saber after all. Matter of fact, I have about 3 of them. Just not the one I want. So let's see here. But how about those guys that they're sunk on a boat overseas? That, man, that had to really, I would have been a little bit upset about that. Let's see here. Okay, so that's one of the things that's clever about this is how they utilized it to fill out the back of the jet mode, and then it actually just flips around to fill in the robot mode leg instead of just leaving a giant chasm. That's one thing that about this figure, I feel its engineering is very clever because it takes some of the original things about the original figure, it takes some of the great things about this guy over here and implements it, and I was just like, yeah, this Starscream for the version it's trying to portray, it's just a kind of a pleasant transformation, to be honest. Okay, so he comes down like that, and that's the other thing is when you bring this piece up, it pushes the robot mode head out, which that's kind of funny. Okay, so that, because it tabs in there, and then those things fold back. We're almost there. Do those at an interesting angle. And see, okay, that's another thing. We'll get to that here in a minute. But this is something that I was like, wow. Because you look at all those third-party kits that we buy for figures that have like the open forearms. And on this one, they're like, well, guess what? We gave you covers for Starscream's arms. So credit to Mark or Evan or whoever was doing it. That's actually really well done. So it's just slight touches like that that are awesome. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll bring you over here. I think I hear a train off in the distance. All right, let's kind of reorient the camera. Oh, I did not account for how tall Megatron was, or Minosaur. So let's correct that there. See, like I told you, live streams, anything can happen. All right, so if we kind of scooch over here, Megatron's off center. It's his fault. But you can see that something like this, I feel it's just such a better scale than we have with Thundercracker over here. Somewhere we go ahead and, like I said, like you saw with him, you can flip the cannons back so you don't just have all this craziness back here. And that's kind of an interesting look, although it's not very accurate to the way that Starscream looked in the show. So let's go ahead and we'll flip those up. And kind of always had his wings at an angle, I feel, in some shots. But that is really, really kind of slick for him. And so if we go ahead, we'll give him his appropriate wing thing. Now, this is what some people would flip out about. They're like, well, it's supposed to be made from his wing. Why does it, doesn't make sense. Here's my thing is, on the original figure, that toy, because it just was the wing unfolded, and it was real chunky and thick, and I always hated it. Plus, I love symmetry, as you might have guessed, especially where it comes to wings. So this totally works. I love that. Because that was a good thing about Thundercracker over here, is that his were concealed under the wings. And so you were still able to have him like even dual wielding, which was awesome. But he still had both his wings. Which one of the things I want to go ahead and show you on the Star Saber is that I like how it's basically the original one just collapsed up, and the part that was the blade, they've obviously messed with the proportions, but the part that was the blade is blue like it was. That's awesome. So our boy over here, he's looking pretty sick. He's able to dual wield. Plus, the one thing about the original being the 2002 kind of chunky Unicron trilogy era thing is it didn't have the posability that you would want for a Starscream. And this just feels like that next step that we kind of always wanted for Starscream, but never quite got, because that old 2002 was very limited in what it could handle. But since we're talking about Star Sabers and such, for this guy, one of the things that I dug during the Siege era was they had these boys right here, which for him felt like a size appropriate kind of Star Saber. So that works out well. But for Megatron, I think we have to give him the legitimate one from Armada. Megatron, you're always so extra. That's why we love you. Like, this version of Megatron, the character that he was in Armada, like, I like that, and I do kind of like the look, especially with the horns. At the time, we thought this was all dumb. I mean, like, that they're going to have to release the Armada Megatron, an update of it anyway at some point. So it'll look amazingly awesome with this Starscream when we get there. But that's just kind of the rough breakdown I wanted to do of Starscream. I mean, the interesting thing about him, one more thing we want to look at is, obviously, he was more well known for using the cannons in his robot mode as opposed to his jet mode. So if you take the blast effects, gotta get them all going here. I mean, that just looks really kind of awesome. I'm digging that, dude. Yes. If you guys saw my video, I'm digging this because in 2003, I was not the biggest fan of Armada, but over the years, I think that characters like Starscream and stuff from that show were among some of the strongest ones. So anyway, the other character that we are going to look at tonight is obviously Dead End. And the one thing about Dead End, I think everybody, if we just kind of cut through it, is we just wanted another arm for Minosaur. And let's see if we can kind of tilt this up a little bit. There we go. That's a little bit better. Now, the fact that we are, 4/5 of the way through, we just got to wait on breakdown for the leg to finally be closed. Yeah, this Minosaur is looking awesome. And the one thing that kind of bugged me before we actually jumped to Dead End over here is that sword that Minosaur comes with, it's perfect for him and scaled with him, but it was not silver, and it was just really kind of small in Minosaur's hand. So yeah, that's why I kind of have a third party upgrade kit for it. But aside from that, looking at this boy, just how he's bisected and how he finally fills out that left arm. For as long as we've had Dragstrip and Motormaster, it's just nice to be a little bit closer, I feel. But you know what? He does his function as a combiner part very well. So if we go ahead and we detach him, there's something that I kind of noticed on my copy, and I don't know if it's a line-wide thing. Let's see here. we got to put them back in one piece here. Let's see here. Like, there we go. And for a sports car, I'm definitely digging that. It just, even from the accurate stripe that he has running down his body, I mean, the molding in general looks really good. Even the cheeky little sunroof there. I mean, ever since the days that Takara and Hasbro started teaming up to give us higher quality vehicles, we start seeing stuff like the rims being differentiated from the actual tire itself. That is just so cool. Now, one thing on mine, because I don't know, maybe I just have OCD about it, and it looks good right now, is that the back end of the car, okay, it took me forever to get this lined up, and you can see that even now, it's still not completely sealed together because it has to have 3 points to actually tie together. So these parts have to be pressed down a little bit farther. You can see that maybe there's a slight bit. It has to be kind of pressed down to where it's not flush with this, but actually just like a hair below it. But also the second point where it has to tie in, you can see where the mold butts up to it on this side and this side. And then under here, there's a clip right here on the other side of this. And to get all 3 of those places to tie in together, yeah, it's kind of annoying. I'm not gonna lie. It'll irritate you to no end. But overall, aside from maybe just being my copy, you know, if your dead end is better, that's great, wonderful. It's just on mine, I'm like, I don't know, it kind of bugs me a little bit. But overall, I like the fact that, you know, they're able to get away with making these cars essentially kind of be what the 80s version was without getting into the licensing trouble and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, definitely an R mode, car mode, looking good. So let's get this boy into his robot mode. So he actually kind of, I have no nails to do this. Let's see here. I've only transformed this like once or twice, so forgive me here. Come on. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Well, what's the hold up here, dead end? That is not a good sound. Okay, see, I knew it did that. Like I said, I don't, only once or twice before, I haven't mastered him yet. Let's go there, go there. And the arms kind of come in like that. Then his head is hiding back here. Plus, I'm also holding this guy at an extremely weird angle, trying to hold him on camera. Let's see here. Ah. Okay, come on. Try not to break my stunticon here. That windshield and that hood, I do remember from monkeying with this the other day that it was hard to oh, there we go. Okay. Now we got it. There we go. And then kind of like, and we flip up the wheels. Flip up the wheels like that. There we are. All right. There is dead end right there. Yeah. Okay. You know what? I like it. I think the thing that everybody kind of wigs out, well, not wigs, but just didn't like was when we saw the shots of his promo, we saw how basically his ankles are super thin and then his upper thighs is, you know, I mean, it's just like, wow, dude. Yeah, I mean, but again, you're working from this part of the car mode. So, I mean, really, what are you going to do? For a deluxe class price point, it looks awesome. But dang, you know what I'm digging is the fact that we've talked about this before on the main channel with RC and I on this channel even when we looked at the Studio Series Cup, is that their guns always kind of felt like they were just not what they should have been. RC got two of them and they looked awesome. Well, that's the thing about all these legacy Stunticons is that I found that their blasters, that they not only get two of them, but they're well done, they're appropriate sized, and some of them even have like the little bit of paint apps on them. So for Dead End, he's kind of becoming a surprise hit. I love that visor, love that mouth plate. It's just kind of like his upper torso seems very broad and just sort of very, flush, whereas his lower half kind of feels like it's a tad bit messy, but whatever. He's a good looking guy. So anyway, guys, that was just kind of our little bit of a chill live stream that I just wanted to share with you. I didn't feel a live stream on the main channel. I wanted to show this channel a little bit of love. I know, because sometimes we go few and far between, but I wanted to make sure that you guys knew there was perks to actually watching this. So if you guys haven't seen on the main channel, we actually did the Shattered Glass Soundwave, and we also did the Studio Series Rumble. But two figures that I'm definitely going to do a normal style review on is our Beast Wars boys here, because, I mean, why would I not? Megatron is my second favorite Transformer character of all time. Optimus Primal being the first. And of course, Inferno. Inferno looks sick. So these guys, I'm really getting ready to, if I can talk here, guys, I already enjoyed them immensely. So we'll actually do a normal review for these boys. But anyway, guys, like I said, if you're watching this on the replay or you were here for part of it during the live, I hope you guys enjoyed just kind of our way to wind down on the Sunday. And you know what else? I think that's really all I get to say. So until next time, guys, maximize.